This month, I've been asking myself, Owen, why did you make a YouTube video about a computer nobody ever heard of or cares about? Nobody is going to want to see that. And so, because only the weak learn from their mistakes, here I am, back with a video topic which might, if I'm lucky, make one person in Wales say, "Oh yes, I remember that." The Satellite Game was a very unpopular spin-off of very popular children's game show Nightmare, which you probably do already know about because either you remember it or you watched a more well-regarded YouTuber talk about it sometime. But if you don't know it, Nightmare was a show where children learned about life in medieval times by attempting to navigate one child who is blinded by a giant helmet through a series of rooms full of pitfalls, puzzles, and so on. Do you remember the television program Nightmare?
I do. I remember, specifically, let me tell you a memory I have of Nightmare. When the first team I remember seeing Nightmare, winning on Nightmare won, they were interviewed on, I think it might have been Motormouth the following weekend, which was the Andy Crane show with the giant mouth in the studio Saturday morning.
Do you know why I believe that that's a real memory?
Why?
Because no one else would ever talk about that. Do you remember the Nightmare spin-off?
No.
The Satellite Game. Imagine Nightmare but science fiction.
Oh my god. Was it a Nightmare spin-off or is it just a rip-off of the... Is this like when they did Zathura?
Zathura's not a rip-off of Jumanji though, because Zathura is based on a book that was written by the same guy who wrote the Jumanji book.
So it's a sequel, sort of. A spiritual sequel.
I mean, is it a rip-off when the same guy does the same idea twice?
No. But
you know, you raise a very good point that the Satellite Game was very much the Zathura of Nightmares, Jumanji.
Okay.
That's kind of what you said there.
Okay.
Would you like to see the Satellite Game?
Yes.
Let's take a look. The year is 1990 and British satellite broadcasting is desperately duking it out with rival satellite service Sky Television, which has The Simpsons. BSB isn't worried though, because they have a new show from the creators of Nightmare called The Satellite Game. The sci-fi setting fittingly embraced the fact that watching TV that was being beamed down from space was an exciting new prospect at the time. Who wants to see court jesters and goblins being pumped into their televisions through some boring old bit of pipe when you could have a show about a spaceship being fired into your television from 37,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface like you're being killed by the fucking GoldenEye? The idea was that 3 contestants would guide a robot named Larry through a labyrinthine satellite with a bomb at its core that will explode with the force of 5 suns unless it's disarmed in time. A very exciting setup, I'm sure you'll agree, but unfortunately if you put your contestants in lazy boy seats and film them listening to endless exposition and give them practically nothing to do, they're gonna look pretty sleepy. There's no doubt in my mind that a lot of work went into this, but it's all for naught because it's so boring. The kids have nothing to do. They lie there while the voice of Larry and Coco, the ship's computer, explain and explain and explain. I won't do a Metal Gear Solid 4 joke, you can leave your own one in the comments. The Satellite Game is hardly a game at all. It's more like a dull amusement park ride than an interactive experience. But at least Larry is fun, right?
Condition Amber, nobody told me about that. I don't believe this is happening. Nothing's happening. Goodness gracious, I'm not having...
Attention commanders, condition red.
Perhaps the robot screaming was just an attempt to keep the contestants awake? 9 minutes into an episode, one team who has yet to do anything is told Larry the robot needs repairs and will no longer be able to talk. And their captain says what the half-dozen viewers at home must be thinking.
I'm afraid he won't be able to talk to you until he's completed those repairs.
Good.
Admittedly, it is funny that the guests genuinely do not like Larry.
This is Mira.
Mirror.
I can see you look great.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Oh, funny. Oh, I hope we don't carry on like this, Larry.
Let's hope not. Who is next to you?
When the contestants actually do get to do something, they have to play a basic computer game which has been turned into an unnecessary ordeal by having to share the controls. It's the digital equivalent of 3 people in a horse costume trying to use a tandem bicycle. But one small mercy is the sci-fi setting means it's unlikely that an Irish An Garda Síochána character will show up to do some lamentable paddywhackery.
Ah, well, the top of the morning to you. Now, just hold up there a moment. For to be sure, it's just a routine vehicle check.
Ah, Lord Jesus, what in the begorra is this? Now you know we here at the Infinite Review love nothing more than to dig out some little known oddity of dubious merit only to finish with a "but wait, I love it." Valor's Kids? Inspiring. Rave Macbeth? Admirable. The Demon Core? Give it another chance. But the Satellite Game? No twist. It's so rubbish that I struggle to get through the meagre amount of it that survives today.
No speeding. No speeding. Kindly slow down and maintain a proper distance. The speed limit for this sector is 53.5 decatars per nanosecond. Give way to migrating aphoids. This announcement is brought to you by Enigma, sponsors of the end of all human life as you know it. The door will now open. Stand clear of the door, please. Mind the gap.
Apparently 38 episodes were made, but the world never got to see them as pretty much all BSB programming was launched into a skip once they lost the fight to Sky. BSB was on air for only 9 months. What a shame, I liked their squariels. BSB's Galaxy channel was also home to the infamous sitcom Heil Honey, I'm Home, which, like the Satellite Game, never aired a full run due to the Sky merger. Wild to think that there's an alternate timeline where we got at least 6 more episodes of both children fall asleep while defusing a bomb and Hitler wants to kill his Jewish neighbours. Satirically, if you're ever hired to write a speech for Rupert Murdoch's funeral, the one positive you could bring up is that he spared us this fate. Cheers, man! One last noteworthy example of BSB's original programming was called Up Your News, which was clearly the progenitor of the Day Today. It featured many familiar faces from British comedy, including Armando Iannucci doing the joke where you shout at your mum while trying to make a video, and Chris Morris doing an early version of his Vox Pop stuff.
Dr. Graham, call me Grey Deant, has recently blurted out in a television interview there must be an ideal angle of inclination for an economic ramp. Which would you choose? 1 in 2, 1 in 3, 1 in 4, 1 in 11, or 1 in 15?
1 in 5.
Your ideal economic ramp then would be perhaps what colour?
Red.
Wait. How could I have seen the Satellite Game if it was shown on a satellite channel only available in Britain? I never had a BSB squariel or any other kind of satellite dish. Have I just made a video about remembering a show that I'd never actually seen? Was I actually thinking about Virtually Impossible? Or Cyberzone? Or Time Busters? I guess this video has a twist after all. I'd never seen the Satellite Game. Only when all the work on this video was done did I realise the programme I was actually thinking of was called Incredible Games, which was a better show by the simple virtue of having contestants that didn't need sleeping bags. How did I end up believing I'd seen the Satellite Game? My mind is falling apart like a nest in a storm. Do you remember Terror Towers? Do I remember Terror Towers? What about that Skips advert with the lamppost that wanted to eat the skips? Did I ever really see the Incredible Crash Test Dummies cartoon? In the middle of the night, an elderly man cries out, "Mother, Mother, do you remember when Zig and Zag were on the Big Breakfast?"
My name's Catherine Rowland. I'm 14 years old and I come from Norwich.
Yes, voice pattern printed. Stand by, Commander 3, and commence, please.
My name's Gary Wielden. I'm 13. I like stamp collecting, swimming, and Kylie Minogue.
Thank you, Commander Gary.